who are watching from the comfort of their home on the live stream. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger. I'm joined with our cantorial soloist, Allison Rosoff, and down at our piano, Joy Katzen-Guthrie, who's sporting the white hat for today. Very, very nice. We're going to begin with a little holiday song, Hag Sameach, Happy Holidays, and then later on, Shiru Hag Sameach, that we sing Happy Holiday. Hag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Hag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Hag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Hag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Hag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Hag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Hag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Hag Sameach, yai la la la, yai la la. So tonight we're going to light the Shabbat, and since it's still light out, the Yom Tov lights, we'll preface this by getting in the mood by singing Light These Lights, written by Debbie Friedman. My prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. I invite you to look at the screen for the bracha, the blessing over the candles.
Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov.
In the words of the Shechianu, thanking God for reaching this moment. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehekianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. On page 13, you'll find the words to Psalm 96, the bottom paragraph, in the words of Yismechu Hashemayim, let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. This arrangement by Craig Taubman. Yamamai, my, mamai, yamamai, my, mamai, yamamai, my, mamai, my, 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 yamamai, my, mamai, yamamai, my, mamai, yamamai, my, mamai, my, 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 Yismechu Hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, umelo, Yismechu Hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz, Yiram hayam, umelo, Yamamai, my, mamai, yamamai, my, mamai, yamamai, my, mamai, my, 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 yamamai, my, mamai, yamamai, my, mamai, yamamai, my, mamai, my, 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 Yismechu Hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz, Yiramayam, umelo. On page 26, you'll find the words to the Chatzi Kaddish, the half Kaddish words of praise. Amen.
Shmei Kudusha Brichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata Tamira B'Ama V'Yimaru.
Amen. Let's rise for Shema and its blessings. You'll find the words to the call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, on page 28. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorah. Baruch Hu continue with a prayer for creation, Ma'ariv, on page 31. Please join me. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time, the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMa'ariv. Feel free to join me in a prayer, Ahavat Olam, of love, on page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, and the living language gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Hev Amo. As we prepare to chant the Shema, Hear, O Israel, we'll sing Open Up Our Eyes. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one, and we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai. Free to be seated and join us as we chant the words, You shall love Adonai, our God, with all your heart, mind, and soul, the V'ahavta on 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol meodecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh, Asher Anochi mitzavcha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech u'shochmecha uvkumecha Ukshartam le'or al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem gedoshim le'elohechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher Hotzeiti Etchem, Me'aretz Mitzrayim, Liot Lachem Le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. And we'll continue now with a reading that's not found in Mishkan Tefillah, the Shabbat version, but in the festival edition of this prayer book, Dwelling Place of Prayer, a special reading for the holiday of Pesach. We remember on this day our crossing of the sea so long ago when Miriam, Moses, and all the Israelites sang this song to God. Adonai is my strength and song, who's become my deliverance. This is my God, my shall enshrine. So too do we sing out in praise on this day of redemption. And we'll sing a very special version of Mi Chamocha with a Passover theme, as we'll sing it to Dear Who, which is one of the songs of praise toward the end of the Passover Seder. Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef eleh, mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh, Adonai imlo le'olam va'ed. And we'll now sing Hashkivenu, our prayer of shelter, that you can find on page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu
Shalom, v'hamidenu
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim, ushmor seitenu uvoenu l'chaim u'shalom me'ata Adonai. And connect ourselves to the land, the people, and the state of Israel, because in our next set of prayers, collectively called Tefillah, or the prayers, in the second of these prayers, the Givurot, which thanks God for our life, strength, and health, we switch from what's called Tefillat HaGeshem, the prayer for rain, to Tefillat Tal, which is the blessing over the dew, because this time of year, in most places in Israel, it's moving away from the wet season and going into the drier season. I'd say it's normally kind of like LA's weather, but this past winter in LA, it was actually very, very cloudy and very, very raining for much of the winter time. So just keep in mind when we get to that second prayer for strength, we'll be making that switch and reconnect to the land and people of Israel. Let's rise together. You'll find the words to Adonai Sifatai, God, open up our lips, on page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chazadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Gula Livnei Vneihem, L'ma'an Shemo Me'yava, Melech Ozer, U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol, Atah Rav Lahoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechachel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Novim Verafei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Memit Mechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lechachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalu kasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue with the words of the tefillah. First, a prayer for Shabbat that you'll find right on the screen and also on page 55 for Shabbat and its holiness. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. A prayer that God will be with us wherever we are in the world, especially in Israel, as many of us are thinking about the recent flare-up of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and hoping for peace in that region. So we offer this prayer, Baruch atah Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato Litzion. And for gratitude, many of us enjoyed a wonderful Pesach community second night Seder here. It was a lot of fun. Lots of good singing, some good food as well, and I hope and pray that your Passovers have been filled with blessing, friends, and family throughout this week. So we offer these words of gratitude. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lechodot. And a special prayer for the festivals, again, out of the festival prayer book of Mishkan Tefillah. Just so you know, you could have either, the congregation bought them separately, Shabbat and festivals, or it was 0.75, so 3/4 of a pound heavier to get the bigger one, which is why a lot of congregations ultimately went for a separate Shabbat and a separate festival. And thankfully, with visual tefillah, we don't have to feel the extra heft. So we offer this prayer called Ya'aleh v'Yavo, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Ya'aleh v'Yavo v'Yizacher Zichronenu. Our God and God of our ancestors, be mindful of your people Israel and recall our merit for good and grace, and in loving kindness and compassion for life and peace on this festival of Pesach, Passover. And we say, Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo letova, ufokdenu vo livracha, vehoshienu vo lechaim, which means this day remember us for well-being, as we say, Amen. This day bless us with your nearness, and finally this day help us to lead a fuller life, as we say together, Amen. And on page 60, back to our prayer books, you'll find our prayer of shalom, of peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever, for you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel, and God willing, the world with peace. Baruch atah Adonai hamvarech et amo Yisrael. Shalom. And Allison had a request to sing our next song for our meditation, another Debbie Friedman favorite called Laugh at All My Dreams.
Laugh at all my dreams, my dearest. Laugh and I repeat anew that I still believe in people as I still believe in you. By the passion of our spirit shall our ancient bonds be shed. Let the soul be given freedom. Let the body have its bread. For my soul is not yet sold to the golden calf of scorn. For I still believe in people and the spirit in them born. Life and love and strength and action in our hearts and blood shall beat, and our hope shall be above heaven and the earth beneath our feet. Laugh at all my dreams, my dearest. Laugh and I repeat anew that I still believe in people as I still believe in you.
Healing and Misha Berak, the prayer that you'll find in the middle of your prayer book on 253, as we call to mind folks in our community and beyond in need of healing. At this time we think of all those injured in the most recent conflict in the state of Israel and its environs, as we also think of Jacqueline Albin, Elaine Affendulis, Mary Bellis, Yonatan Reuven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Babs Brown, Tina Bruns, Matthew Deinhardt, Harry Fleisch, David Friedlander, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Sidel Freifeld, Jeannie Fusaro, Lauren Herman, Kathy Howard, Graham Kligerman, Howard Markowitz, Ken Mercerow, Melissa Miller, William Miller, Michael Ranzino, Rabbi Avram Reifer, Abby Richmond, Linda Roberts, Gary Rosenberg, Stephanie Ross, Kay Schleich, Dennis Schulman, Angie Sermenis, Karen Sermenis, Jeff Stark, Doris Stoyer, and Marty Wassoff. And if there are other names you'd like to add, feel free.
My father, George Stark. To make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. You can go to the next slide. Oh, there you go. Maurice and Sadie invite their neighbor, Nigel, to their Passover Seder meal, honoring the teaching that we've read about at least once, if not twice, during this Passover holiday, the teaching found in the Haggadah, all who are hungry, come and eat. As this was the first Seder that Nigel would attend, there would be, of course, a learning curve in terms of the rituals and the foods at the festive meal. After reading through a good bit of the Haggadah, the storytelling of Passover, and offering the appropriate blessings for the greenery and the like, the first course is served. And as you'll see right here, Sadie proudly said to Nigel, "Enjoy. This is matzo ball soup." When Nigel sees the large matzo balls floating in the soup, he's a bit hesitant to take his first bite. It's an interesting looking brew, and he never had it before. But Maurice, the husband, gently persuades Nigel to try it, saying, "Just have a little taste. If you don't like it, seriously, you don't have to eat anymore." So Nigel has a taste. He digs his spoon in gingerly, picks up a small bit of matzo ball along with some broth and vegetables. Quickly, he finishes his soup. He liked it. And after politely wiping his brow with the cloth napkin, Nigel said, "You know, this is absolutely delicious. But tell me, can you eat any other part of the matzah?" I was wondering if you get that one. So it just goes to show that it's always good to try new things, even if the environment or the menu seems a little bit different from what we're used to.
Case in point is the Passover Seder that I led on Monday at St. Ignatius Catholic Church in Tarpon Springs. In my 20 years as a rabbi, it'll be 20 years come this May, this is the first time I was actually asked to lead a Seder at a Christian house of worship. So I was honored to read it, and the reception that I received was very warm and welcoming, which was gratifying. In addition to the head priest, Father Bill Swengros, along with a Benedictine monk who was visiting the church for the week, there were even a couple Jews in attendance who were pretty easy to pick out because they had the large high necklace on top of their shirt. High, of course, meaning life in Hebrew. The crowd, there were about 80 people strong. They really took to the singing of the English language Passover songs that I shared, some of which I shared last night. Ellen Aller's No, No, No in terms of Pharaoh, and Baby Moses in a Blanket. And they especially enjoyed the singing of Dayenu, meaning it would have been enough. And most people were familiar with our closing song, Let My People Go. Given the entire Seder meal was wrapped up, including the food, in 2 hours, they were content to sing all 3 verses of this spiritual, as we'll do later tonight at the end of services. You should know there's been a growing trend of non-Jews celebrating Passover in recent years especially. More and more churches are holding their own Passover Seders. Some of them are led by families, which include Jews and Christians, while others are led by the pastors themselves. Father Bill explained to his congregants that participating in a Passover Seder, which St. Ignatius has done for many years now, reminds Christians of how tied they are to their Jewish roots. One of the interesting things that I learned from Father Bill during the Seder toward the end is how the different symbols of the Passover story are reinterpreted in a Christian context. Take chametz, or leavened bread products, for instance. Jews focus on removing chametz, or leavened products, before the festival to focus on eating matzah, called lechem onyi, or the bread of affliction. This makes matzah, in Jewish terms, a symbol of oppression and servitude, whereas many Christians, I learned, view chametz, or leaven, as a symbol of sin, which makes Passover a time to set aside to purify themselves for their sins, which culminates in the Easter celebration that'll take place on Sunday. Of course, whether or not Jesus and his disciples actually celebrated a Seder meal has long been the subject of controversy. Though the consensus, I can tell you, among scholars of early rabbinic literature, conclude that the Seder as we celebrate it today was developed in the years after 70 of the Common Era, some 2 generations after Jesus' death. Of course, when it comes to Christians commemorating Seder meals, there are those who believe that Seders in this context are not appropriate. Some people feel it's an example of cultural appropriation, while other people feel that it glosses over centuries of persecution by Jews, often, unfortunately, in the name of Christianity. Now, personally, I don't hold much stock in either of these views, not least of which because many faith leaders, such as Father Bill, actually encourage their congregants to attend their Jewish friends' Seders, as he did that night, to experience the rich traditions of Judaism. I'll admit it was a bit strange to share some of the Passover songs and prayers in Hebrew without a lot of congregational participation. Sometimes you could almost hear a pin drop other than my voice. But at the same time, it's perfectly reasonable that Christians find their own meaning in our time-honored Jewish ritual. After all, the origins of the Passover story and meal are described in the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus,
which is also considered part of Christian scriptures. This means that the Exodus story, while central to Jewish history, memory, identity, indeed belongs to everyone who draws inspiration from it. To be sure, after celebrating a total of not 1, 2, 3, or 4 Seders since last Sunday's religious school opportunity, I'm about ready to move on from the Haggadah. Whether individually or as a community, we actually do move on by counting 7 weeks of 7 days that began last night on the beginning of the second night or day of Pesach. Day by day and week by week, we move forward from our time of freedom in Egypt to the crowning moment of renewal, connection, and covenant, which is the giving of Torah at Mount Sinai. Every spring, the 7 weeks of the Omer, which was traditionally a measure of sheaves of barley that were given in the temple in Jerusalem during the spring harvest, which usually begins around Pesach time, is an invitation to walk a spiritual path from narrowness to expanse. Narrowness in the sense that the Hebrew word for Egypt, Mitzrayim, means exactly that, a narrow place, while the expanse of Mount Sinai symbolizes the breadth of spiritual principles. Just to name a few, rabbis and other teachers equate the Sinai experience with decision-making, with hope, tikvah, with imagination, with courage, with wisdom, and prayer, among others. I tend to think of these 49 days as a personal discipline, an invitation, or if you will, a sacred obligation or mitzvah to mindfully enter each day and to become aware of its potential to make a difference. Or in other words, it's an opportunity for each of us to count for something good. So many special moments in our lives involve a period of anticipation or counting up. Bar and bat mitzvah families have more than a year to prepare for their special day, leading the congregation in prayer. Loving couples thinking about their wedding in the future plan many, many months in advance. Whether we plan or count down to a simcha or joyous event, there are many details to consider, from the invitations to the decorations to creating a great menu for the Seudat Mitzvah, or the celebratory meal. Of course, the Passover Seder offers lots of guideposts in terms of numbers. There are 4 cups of wine, 4 different archetypes of children or learners, and 4 questions, the Manish Shana. And one of the crowd favorites at the end of the Seder meal is surely Echad Mi Yodea, which means who knows one, which speaks to God's 13 attributes, 12 tribes of Israel, 11 stars in Joseph's dream, and remember, 10 holy commandments, 9 months of a baby's birth, 8 days of the circumcision, 7 days of the week, 6 books of the Mishnah, 5 books of the Torah, 4 are the papas and 3 are the mamas, and 2 are the tablets that Moshe brought, and 1 is our God, 1 is our God, 1 is our God in the heavens and the earth. That version I learned from Ida's family Seder many, many years ago, and I think it's a great one. And people weren't throwing the eggs on their table in the matzah, so maybe they enjoyed them last night too. The counting of the Omer, and recently, a couple weeks ago, I picked up for the congregation a wooden Omer calendar. So on the top are the days of the week, so 0 through 6, and on the bottom are the 7 weeks of the Omer. So on the bottom, this is the first week, and then once we get to it after my sermon, it'll be the second day of the Omer. It culminates in the holiday of Shavuot, which means weeks. Centuries ago, the prophet Hosea like in the moments of the Israelites at Mount Sinai, to a marriage or a covenant, a partnership, with God as the Khatan or groom, and the Israelites or Jewish people as the Kala or the bride, and what served as the marriage document or the ketubah, the Torah. As we begin our spiritual counting that leads to Shavuot and commemorates, the rabbis teach us, of our collective experience at Mount Sinai many generations ago, I'll invite you to take just a few minutes every single day to appreciate the beauty, the companionship, the love, and the wonder that you've experienced lately. Because every spiritual journey begins with a decision to live life in a different way, to interact with others in a special way, and also to behave a different way. And many times, this means being open to experiencing something new, just like our friend Nigel chose to do at Maurice and Sadie's Seder. If he can do it, then so can we. Shabbat Shalom. You'll find the blessings for counting the Omer, which is traditionally done right before Aleinu in a synagogue service, right on the screen, but also Shabbat only for 200. You'll find the blessing for the Hayom Shnei Yamim, Hayom Shnei Yamim La Omer. We'll continue now with Aleinu, the Adoration. You can find just 4 pages away on page 282. Please rise as the ark is opened. You can see with all the lights and probably the heat emanating from the memorial plaques, we will be observing the Yizkor memorial service during the festival of Passover. You won't find any of this service in your prayer book, but you'll find all of the prayers and psalms that we'll be chanting or reading right on the screen, and we'll begin with Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd."
Please join me in the translation, which you'll find right on the screen. With God as my shepherd, I shall not want. The Eternal makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, restores my soul, guides me in straight paths for the sake of God's name. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Eternal forever. Our loved ones live in our broken hearts, and at times that can bring a measure of healing. Their acts of kindness and generosity are the inheritance they leave behind. We feel their absence, but the beauty of their lives abides among us. As it is said, the name of the one who has died shall not disappear. Our loved ones' names and their memories will endure among us, and these are the names on our lips and in our hearts. You'll find the names for Yizkor Memorial on the front page of your Shabbat booklet. as we recall with fondness and love Stanley Kaplan, Eddie Deerfield, Ellie Doff, Edith Eckber, Sylvia Eisner, Harold Eisner, Robert Edelman, Evelyn Edelman, Corrine Fairfield, Augusto Ferreira, Rita Fishman, Stanley Franklin, Leah Gottlieb, Clara Graff, Marshall Greenman, Sally Levy, May Lipinski, Stu Morovsky, Barbara Martini, Alfred Moratelli, Simon Nemzow, Mary G. Paquette, Harold Rosenberg, Arlene Sanders, Lysel Schick, Cyril Chagrin, Dennis Sherman, Malka Singer, Elaine Tootleman, and Paul Weiner. Let's rise now for our memorial prayer, El Malay Rachamim, God full of compassion. Translation, merciful God, God Most High, let there be perfect rest for the souls of our loved ones who have gone to eternity. May they find shelter in your presence among the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold them close to you forever. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May they find a home in you, and may they rest in peace as we say, Amen. Feel free to be seated as we think of families in the period of Shloshim, first 30 days mourning their loved one. As we remember Michael Markovsky, friend of Myron Graff, Marshall Greenman, husband of Glenda Greenman, and Virginia Cashian, friend of Bill and Linda Ross. We, of course, think of those killed in the recent violence in the state of Israel. And we mark the yahrzeit anniversary of passing of loved ones on this Shabbat. We recall fondly Louis Altner, Dora Barron, Ann Blatt, Max Booten, Maurice Citron, Arlen Cohn, Werner Cohn, David Dichter, Norman Etroff, Harold Eisner, Barish Flashner, Hans Fleisch, Cicely Fox, Leon Friedman, Herbert Gamler, Maxine Gladstone, Bertha Goldstein, William Greenberg, Jerome Greenhouse, Barry Heiserman, Alex Hawk, Charlotte Kirstein, Milton Keshen, Elizabeth Kovis, Sally Levy, Belle Lubotsky, Louis Moskowitz, Stephen Knoll, Isabel Pincus, Henrietta Rauchwork, Diane Rosen, Marvin Rosenberg, Mark Rubens, Miriam Schloss, Albert Skulnick, Hyman Secundi, Rebecca Siegel Hurwitz, Natalie Skalka, Rose Stark, Rebecca Stein, Erwin Tomac, Gregory Waxman, and Keith Willis. Are there any other names to add for yahrzeit? Yes. We say Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all of these good people continue to be a source of blessing in our lives as we rise, turning to the words of Kaddish Tome, Mornis Kaddish, words of praise found on 294. Yikadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, yalmad rach yiritlich malchutei, ma'ikon mechon Israel, abba v'zman through Feel free to be seated. We'll continue with the Shabbat Kiddush that you'll find on page 5 for the fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzah banu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'yava uvratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh b'reishit, Yehu yom tefilah, l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'charta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, Shabbat kodshecha, v'yava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. I aim to life. This one's going to be fun. Super flat. Our 2-millimeter piece of matzah for the motzi. Where is it? There it is. There she blows. Oh, I forgot.
That's okay.
Just a little. You only need an olive-sized bit. That's the legit what you need for even something like that little. That's just all you need for the motzi. Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. I guess I'll still say b'tei avon and joy. I think it's starting to turn. Well, it's still lechem. I mean, technically, it's still bread. It's just flat. Paula Rosoff, pleasure to call you forward, representing the board and leadership of our congregation, to share some Shabbat and holiday announcements with us.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach to everybody. Lots going on here at Temple Avat Shalom. Many thanks first to Rabbi Matt, Allison, and Joy for leading a wonderful Shabbat service, along with our tech team, Barbara Gittimer and Sophia Schoen. Support the Ukrainian community at the Straz Center on April 14th, where local Ukrainian musicians like Ilona, who sang here at TAS, will present Broadway's best hits. Join us for our Sisterhood Shabbat service, which will take place on April 14th, next Friday, featuring a presentation by Susie Siegel. Our next Shabbat morning minyan will be on April 15th at 9 a.m. The Gulf Coast Jewish Federation and the Pinellas Board of Rabbis will be commemorating Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Memorial Day, on April 17th at 7 p.m. at Congregation Beth Shalom in Clearwater. Join Sisterhood on April 19th for a fun girls' night out at Brush Tips Art Studio. Mark your calendar for another great family event on April 23rd as Sisterhood sponsors a Shavuot scavenger hunt and ice cream social. All of these events are on our website and you can sign up there. Our own Ed Marks will lead a Profile and Courage program at TAS's Frank Weiner at the Palm Harbor Museum program on May 3rd. TAS's Empty Nesters group is back. Join them on May 20th for dinner at O'Keefe's Restaurant in Clearwater, followed by a live performance of Beauty and the Beast at Francis William Playhouse, RSVP online. Following the service, please join us for refreshments at our Oneg Shabbat in the social hall. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Paula. The oneg will still be good because of fruits and cheese, some sweets. I think there are chocolate macaroons, among other things. Our closing song, as promised during the sermon, all 3 verses, there may be more, of Let My People Go. When Israel was in Egypt's land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. Thus said the Lord, both Moses sang, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. The Lord told Moses what to do. Let my people go, to lead the Hebrew children through. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. We'll conclude with our prayer for health and well-being. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation for health and to protect life. Shabbat Shalom and Hag Sameach to all of you. And for those who are here, join us in the social hall.